In our previous segment, we looked at the importance of church partnership as a means of how to live missiologically in Rochester, New York. In this segment, we will examine a case study of what that church partnership can look like. When I first started in my position as Director of Student Ministries at a church in the Rochester suburbs in October of 2019, I was shocked at the sheer number of churches in the area. As I mentioned in the previous segment, I would pass no less than 7 churches on the commute from our apartment to my own church. It was surprising to me, since I was coming from a rural area of Pennsylvania, and while there certainly was no shortage of churches, there were not quite that many. And so I had a dream of uniting the churches, specifically the student ministries in Rochester, of putting aside denominational differences and working towards our common missiological goal. So I reached out to 2 of the local churches in the area whose youth directors I already knew, and I asked to meet with each one of them to talk about ministry and to discuss an idea I had. When I met with each of these other student directors, I brought up my dream, seeing the student ministries in Rochester, despite denominational differences, united under the same gospel. Both of them said they wanted in. Shortly after, the 3 of us began to meet together to plan out what this would look like. And at that first meeting, United was born. United became the culmination of the ideas, of the dreams of all 3 of us. We planned a day to set aside where, rather than meet as 3 separate youth groups that week, we would all 3 come together and have youth group as one united body of Christ. At that first meeting, all 3 churches were present, along with all of their adult leaders and about 150 middle schooler and high schoolers. We played together, worshiped together, and gave a message centered on the unity we share in the body of Christ. That even though our churches have different sizes, different beliefs, different worship styles, we are united together under the same gospel, and that it is the one thing that unites us that matters most. Since then, the concept for United has exploded. Despite some logistical setbacks during COVID, where gatherings of such large crowds weren't possible, we're back. And what began as 3 churches with around 150 kids has now grown to 8 churches and 250 kids. Each gathering, all churches come together, and we share an evening where we can focus not on the areas of doctrine or denomination or worship style that divide us, especially in such a diverse range of churches among those 8, but we can focus on the gospel and the one name that unites us all together, Jesus Christ. The student directors of the other churches had such buy-in to the concept that in addition to our twice per year United student gatherings, we also planned 2 United leader gatherings per year, times where just the directors of those student ministries come together, share breakfast and coffee, and talk about church partnership and what the Lord has been doing in their own contexts since the last time we met. We have seen churches among this group partner together for retreats and events outside of these united gatherings, and the interconnectedness of the group and the pastors has only been growing. These churches, student ministry directors, and students themselves are seeing church partnership lived out in a practical way, where we get to see firsthand our collective Missio Dei within the city of Rochester. Our next United gathering is scheduled for November of this year, and we continue to add churches and students to that list.